MOBAs are hard, they are complicated and deep and unforgiving. It's no wonder that they kind of feel like gaming Marmite. Either you're willing to sink literally hundreds of hours into them, or they seem like the absolute worst uses of your time imaginable. For most people, when you think of a MOBA, you think of either Valve's Dota 2 or Riot Games' League of Legends. These two are the undeniable juggernauts of the genre, and odds are you know someone that's ploughed an almost embarrassing amount of time and money into one or the other.
Me, for example, I've played a ridiculous amount of League of Legends over the years. It's a very good game. It's also a very bad game. It's a good bad game.
These two games are huge, and more importantly, they are gold mines. League of Legends made over 1.6 billion US dollars in 2015, for example. Billion with a B. It's no wonder so many publishers have tried to take a piece of this pie with very limited success. EA's Dawngate was cancelled before it was even released, and Infinite Crisis, the DC Comics MOBA, was shut down in 5 months. 5 months? That's easily shorter than the amount of time they spent making that game.
And who can forget the Lord of the Rings Rings War, the console-focused MOBA that was so forgettable, you didn't even realise I just made that name up. It's not called that, it's called something else. I can't even remember what it is either, and I'm making the video.
It's clear that a good cast of recognisable and well-liked characters isn't enough. Completely original characters can work fine if you've got a fresh take on the genre, as proven by the completely free-to-play and highly recommended by me Awesomenauts, the 2D MOBA. That's literally what it's called on Steam, by the way, Awesomenauts, the 2D MOBA.
But what if someone came along with not only a treasure trove of well-loved characters, but a fresh new take on the well-loved gameplay? That'd be pretty good. Someone should do that. That's a good idea.
Well, they did do that. It's Heroes of the Storm. Didn't they do well? Heroes of the Storm feels like it was predestined to exist. All of Blizzard's incredibly well-loved games, with all the people and places and sounds and music crammed into one package. Of all these MOBAs that sprung up, this one always seemed like it had the best chance, seeing as it had such an inbuilt audience with a predominantly PC playing base. So what did they do different then? Give the game a quick glance and you'd probably think it looks much the same as the footage I showed earlier of Dota and League of Legends. And for the most part, that's true. You still control a single hero in a team of 5, there's lanes, there's bases, there's creeps. But what Heroes of the Storm does that's really fresh is solve the problem of not knowing.
Not knowing what you're supposed to be doing in a game like this at first is really hard, because everyone around you seems to know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Should I be doing this thing, or should I stick with my teammates and we'll all go and do that thing? Or do they want me to stay here and do this thing or that thing?
The way Heroes of the Storm solves this problem is with two clever mechanics. The first is the use of map objectives. Heroes of the Storm has several maps, unlike most MOBAs that only have one main one and a few bonus or side maps. Each map has its own unique gimmick, and they all result in the same thing. It doesn't matter if the game wants you to hold a control point at random time intervals, or go to a secondary map to race to kill the most AI controlled units, or collect a token that spawns in one of several different spots every few minutes. All of these things force players from both teams to converge. Even if only a few members of each team go to the objective, that's still a moment that the game has created. If you don't know exactly what to do at any given time, the game will often help by giving you a specific thing to do. And more times than not, going to the objective and fighting the other team for it is a useful thing to do. It's rarely, if ever on some maps, a bad play.
This greatly reduces the feeling of being utterly lost that a lot of new players have when they start with these games. There's no brick wall of a learning curve when it comes to learning the flow of a match, because the match itself dictates it for you.
The other thing that HOTS does that's clever is it makes experience a shared pool rather than being on an individual basis. When players complete actions that grant experience, like killing creeps or destroying towers or winning objectives, this goes into a team pool and every player on the team benefits rather than just those nearby or that committed the last hit to it. This is a very good way to keep a team in check with each other without having to overthink it.
Let me explain this right. Say you're playing as a big beefy tank character. Your job is to get into fights early, soak up a load of damage, do a bit of crowd control, initiate fights, and let the rest of your team who are a bit squishier pick off people that you have kind of put out of position, right? So say there's a big team fight brewing around an objective or a point or something like that. Both teams are just kind of feeling each other out, waiting to see who's going to make the first move to go for the objective or start the fight. In an individual leveling game, you might be at ever so slightly higher level than your teammates are, so you have to constantly keep checking in the heat of the moment if any of them have leveled up, have been close enough to something that's got them experience to give them that little boost to make them ready to fight, which is quite tricky in the heat of the moment when you're trying to also see what the opponents are doing and all that other stuff. That's not a problem in Heroes of the Storm, because if you are too low a level, so are the rest of your team. So you know that everyone has to play a wee bit more defensively until such a point where everyone's unlocked maybe a new skill or leveled up and got a little bit stronger and is ready to fight. There's no guesswork. You don't have to work it out. The game tells you.
Heroes of the Storm is absolutely worth looking at if you've bounced off these games before or if you've never played a game like it. It eases you in perfectly. It has some fairly inobtrusive free-to-play stuff in it, just cosmetics and that. You don't unlock all the heroes at once like in Dota, but there's a healthy free rotation every week, and unlocking heroes with in-game money isn't too grindy. Much like with my video on Frozen Cortex, this is a game that I think not enough people are playing. Obviously, lots of people are playing Heroes of the Storm, but compared to similar games out there, it's not doing as well. According to the website twitchmetrics.net, it's the 22nd most popular game in October 2017 on Twitch. For context, that's 8 places behind Grand Theft Auto 5. I know that's a fairly unscientific look at numbers, but it certainly helps to paint a picture.
So, Heroes of the Storm might just be the MOBA for you, or maybe not. Maybe MOBAs in general aren't for you, but at the price of free, Heroes of the Storm is the best way to find out in 2017. I heartily recommend you give it a go. Thanks for watching.